Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Han Talks First. I'm your host, Han, and this is the podcast you're looking for. A Star Wars podcast where we talk about everything in Star Wars, and today is a special episode because I'm joined by an old friend who just so happens to be a beloved Mandalorian warrior. And if you couldn't tell by the title, I'm talking about Sabine Wren from Star Wars Rebels. That's right, today I interview Yessy Rivera, and we go behind the scenes about her experience as the Lucasfilm prototype and first official face character for Sabine Wren. And tons of other stuff too, because when she's not playing in the Star Wars world, she's also a model, an actress, a performer, and a filmmaker. So without further ado, here's my interview with Yessy, and I hope you enjoy.
So who talks first? You talk first? I talk first.
How you doing?
Hey, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so happy you could join us. It's like I remember texting you and you were like, I didn't even know you had a podcast. And I was like, can't believe I didn't even think of inviting you because of your history with Star Wars. So I'm glad we finally got the chance to.
Yeah, this is great. I just watched the 100th episode and I noticed an honorable mention there and was like, all right, I gotta step it up and represent.
So for the listeners out there, if you were listening on the podcast or on any of the video streamers, I was with my guest, Ellie Woods, and we were talking about his time working at Disney. And we were mentioning a mutual friend we had who also worked with Disney and played one of the characters. And it just so happened to be this woman right here. Boom. And she has a great story to tell, and I can't wait to talk about it and share it with you guys. But first, let's get to know her a little bit better. So, Yessy, why don't you tell everybody about yourself and, maybe your background, how you got into any of your careers, and just let them know who you are.
Yeah, totally. I'd love to. So I'm originally from Puerto Rico, grew up in Orlando, Florida. And one day, a really good friend of mine actually really wanted to audition to be a Disney princess. So she convinced me to go with her. And I ended up getting the job. And I worked 5 years for the Walt Disney Company in Florida, and also did a couple different contracts. I did a contract in Tokyo Disneyland and came back to Walt Disney World. And that's where everything changed for me. Was very fortunate once I got back from Tokyo, working with Disney and Imagineering and helping develop characters like Sabine, as well as performing for different shows throughout the park.
So you actually hijacked the audition, pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, I was in theater in high school and I sang in the choir, and my parents were very religious, so I sang in the choir at church. And so I was used to being on stage and would sing at the pep rallies, like the national anthem and stuff. But I never really thought about working for Disney until a good friend, she was obsessed with Ariel and she really wanted to be Ariel. And so I went with her to kind of, be silly and help her feel comfortable. And we both got pulled. And she was actually fit in Snow White. Oh God, I don't want Disney to crucify me for like revealing like the secrets. She was friends with Snow White. And so funny story, actually, I feel like I always ended up doing something new. So my first character actually wasn't a Disney princess. It was a pirate. They pulled me aside and they said, hey, we have an internal audition that's actually supposed to be cast member only. And it's for a brand new character from Pirates of the Caribbean 4 that debuts this summer, back in 2011 when I auditioned, named Angelica, which was Penelope Cruz's character in the Pirates franchise.
Oh, no way.
And yeah, I mean, I was 18. I was still in high school, and I had to bring my mom to the audition when they ended up like re-inviting me to audition for Angelica because they didn't have the costume that day when I had shown up. And yeah, they put me in like, it happened with Sabine as well, which is so funny how my Disney story starts with like a brand new character that they ended up putting me in like Mrs. Incredible boots, like for the Angelica like fitting, and because they didn't have the whole thing. And yeah, they asked me to speak Spanish because I am bilingual, and gave me a script in English and had me translate it on the spot, and offered me the job right there. They were like, can you start full time? And I was like, I'm in high school, sir. I could only work on the weekends. So I was the 2-day Angelica that summer. And it was amazing. It was so cool.
Wow, that's so cool. So it's
Yeah.
interesting. You never like kind of planned to work at Disney. It just kind of happened. Kind of fell into your lap.
Yeah, I mean, it I was super open to it. But I think because I wasn't like somebody who had been like really prepping for it and then get super nervous, like I was just being myself and I had no expectations. I think that's why everything kind of unfolded the way that it did. So I think
Yeah.
now I'm actually more prone to being nervous when I prepare for something because I'm like, oh my God, I really want it, and the stakes are higher. But at the time, I mean, I was a kid and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, and it ended up being a 5-year career where I traveled the world and ended
Wow.
up doing really cool stuff with Star Wars.
That's amazing. And I know the listeners are very excited to hear about the Star Wars stuff, but you're also a model and you do some commercial work and you make films. You've directed a music video of my own and a bunch of other stuff. So where did all that come into play as well?
I think I've always been a very visual person. I was always a visual learner in school, and I'm completely self-taught when it comes to this. So, a little more backstory. So, I started university, I was working for Disney, and I got offered a contract for Tokyo Disneyland, and it was a 14-month contract, and I just went for it. I dropped out of university and just moved to Japan and completely immersed myself in that experience. And there, everything is so over the top and amazing. And I went to shows there and I was performing as well. And also low key a club promoter at night in Roppongi. And just like 19 living in Tokyo. And I mean, I was super inspired by the fashion in Tokyo. So once I got back, I quickly wanted more. I wanted to be able to touch more creative projects. So I got signed with a modeling agency, got headshots, fell in love with that whole process of creating content. And my modeling kind of took off when I was kind of just creating content for Instagram. I mean, now Instagram's changed a little bit with like the influencer culture, but when I started modeling back in 2015, Instagram was a huge tool for me to just meet photographers. I was shooting 3 days a week. I decided to leave the company in 2016. I left Disney to pursue modeling and creative projects full time. And it led me to New York City, where I got a modeling contract here and, just keeping on, keeping on.
And, people might not realize this, but a lot of people out there, maybe some people even listening to the show, have probably seen your face before because you've been on a lot of, commercials and posters and stuff like that. Most, for myself, I remember one time I was walking through Universal City, and I've told you this story. I think I sent you the picture or whatever. But one time I was walking at Universal City here in Hollywood, or in LA, and I was walking past Johnny Rockets, and I come across this right here, and I immediately just took a picture and was like, "Oh my God, it's Yessy, the girl who
Yep.
directed my music video, just hanging out on the billboard." And then there was another time I saw you too, and it was actually on one of the sky billboards off of La Brea, in kind of the busy area of Hollywood, and I was never able to get a picture because of the traffic. But um, so I've seen you twice already, and then there's that story I remember you posted on your Instagram of you at Times Square. Is that
Hmm.
right? And you were up on like one of the big projectors up there.
Oh yeah, that was honestly like the highlight of moving to New York City. Like it was a culmination of that whole experience because I went through a really bad breakup and I needed to just find myself again. So I saved my money, moved back in with my parents, and um yeah, spring of 2018, two suitcases in hand, just took a chance, leap of faith, and moved to New York City by myself. And that summer booked a national campaign for, I believe it was the Outdoor Association. And it was a whole campaign about like get out, get outside. Just so funny now because the campaign is stay home. But that campaign
Right.
was to get kids like out and off of their phones and their devices. And yeah, it was in Times Square. And It's funny, there was another Yessy at that audition. So
Oh,
that
really?
audition ran so late. They were so behind. I ended up falling asleep on the couch. So I had auditions all day that day. I fell asleep. I wake up because I'm like, oh my God, they call my name. And it was for a different girl named Yessy. And I was like, well,
Oh my
shit,
gosh.
like that's embarrassing. And they ended up just saying, well, come on over, Yessies. And I was like, no. And they put us like kind of next to each other. And it was super awkward, but we kind of just laughed it off. And I half asleep, like, pulled out my Disney animation that we learned in character core and booked the job.
Wow, that's hilarious. So yeah, you've done a lot. You do a lot. You work all the time. You do many different projects. I remember the first time I met you, I was already, kind of blown away at all the stuff you had done previously. And then in that, I think we've known each other for 5 years, maybe. And
Mhm.
in that 4 or 5 year timeline, you've done even more stuff, and you just constantly impress me. And I'm always so
Aw,
happy to see you do stuff.
thank
And
you. I really appreciate it. I'm a
yeah,
hustler, baby. Like I have to. It's in my nature. I don't know. I'm a
fun
go-getter.
fact for the listeners out there, the first time I met Yessy, we were working on a short film, and she was the actor and I was the quote DP, very terrible one at that. But um, we met, and you said something about Star Wars, and then my ears kind of perked up, and then you revealed to me that you were, the prototype and the first official face of Sabine Wren, and I kind of like lit up, and I immediately went and grabbed my Star Wars Rebels Season 1 DVD case and brought it to you and said, could you sign it so I could get the official signature from a Star Wars like Disney character? Because those autographs are like, they're done a certain way, right? Like you have
Yeah,
to.
they're designed by the Disney company. They have someone who makes all of the character autographs, and it's the official autograph for Sabine.
Do you hear that, everybody? I have the official autograph by Sabine on my Rebels DVD. None of you have that. I'm one of the only. I wish I could show you, but it's packed away. By the way, if any one of you is listening on the audio platforms like Spotify or Google or Amazon, Apple, and anywhere, Stitcher, you can go to the YouTube on either Facebook or YouTube, Twitch, sorry, and you can watch video because we'll be showing photos of Yessi as Sabine and her time working with Disney and stuff like that. If you want to check those out too, so hop on over there and watch the rest of the interview, or just stick around if you want to. But so we know a little bit about you. I really want to know what your Star Wars story is outside of working for the company. Now, I ask all my guests this question, so it can be your favorite movie, your favorite moment, how you got into Star Wars. So what is Yessi's Star Wars story?
Yeah, I mean, it's a little unconventional, I suppose. I had seen the prequels as a kid, and I didn't really get it at first. I mean, now I also agree with my child brain. My intuition was right that they are not the best, in my opinion. But I actually came to really, really love it as an adult, and had actually seen all of them. Like, I made an effort to see all of the films once I started the process of becoming Sabine. And I mean, the legacy, the art design, the vastness of the Star Wars universe, it's insane. Like, I love
Yeah,
how they weather everything to make it look like it's been there forever, and the detail that goes into the lore. I mean, the lightsaber lore and the Force. I just love that, and it's like I can tell why people geek out about it just because it's such a remarkable franchise.
do you still not like the prequels today, or are you okay with them?
I appreciate knowing the struggle of Anakin, like, and
Yeah.
understanding what led to Darth Vader, because he is arguably one of the best characters in the Star Wars universe. I
Mhm.
I love Darth Vader, one of my favorite characters. But Anakin, like child Anakin, nah, I don't fuck with him. Child Anakin is the most annoying, weird. And then like the relationship between Padme and child Anakin, not feeling it. It's giving me very much child pedophilia. I don't know. I don't want to even go there, but it's giving me. I don't know.
I think a lot of
um,
people have gone there.
It's weird. It's a bit uncomfortable. It's like a la like Jacob imprinting on Bella's unborn baby vibe,
Oh my god.
Twilight reference, and I know that that's dating me, but
So wait, you started with the prequels? Like those were the first movies you saw?
yeah, the first ones I saw were 1, 2, and 3,
Okay, now
and
did you watch them in order after that, like 4, 5, 6?
yes,
Okay, that's rare. So what was
yeah.
that like to, I mean, even if you remember, what was that like to watch them in that
I think I
order?
was like 14 or 15 when I saw the prequels,
Oh, okay.
and I was kind of like, I mean, he's cute. Like Hayden Christensen is cute, and like, of course, Natalie Portman, everything. Her looks, okay, her looks are amazing. Like I saw a meme the other day that said like girls don't want a boyfriend, they want Padme's wardrobe.
I think we have
And
a
I
picture of
agree.
you with Miss Padme here.
Yes. Ah, Queen Amidala.
Gorgeous.
Amazing. Oh, they do such a great job at Disney with the costuming, and Lucasfilm is an amazing um, contributor to the Star Wars Weekends events that they
Mhm.
held. Like they partnered with them and they had amazing reps that supported us. And some of them are I'm still friends with on Facebook because they're true fans. Like they truly
Yeah.
love what they do and it shows. And it's like that with most I mean, when it comes to people who put their all into Disney, and they're lifers for a reason because they drink the Kool-Aid. They love it.
Yeah. So, okay, you're talking about, the costuming, the design, the worn out world, the world building, all this stuff. What for you, this was my next question, what for you makes Star Wars iconic? And the best part about that question is there's so many different answers. So for you, what sticks out the most, and why do you think what makes it so have such longevity and fan appeal?
Well, the idea of being a rebel and representing something that's so much bigger than just you, I think it's a great political uh inspo. I think the idea of being able to get in a spacecraft and go at light speed to any other system and experience another world and other cultures, I think anybody who's like a traveler and has wanderlust in their heart is going to be attracted to that concept in and of itself because it's so like there's an entire galaxy that you can just explore, galaxies that you can explore, and there's no limits. And you know, the good versus evil is such a classic storyline that just it gets me going. I love it.
Right? Right, that hero's journey and all that good versus evil, all that kind of stuff.
Exactly. And the chosen one, and there's only one Sith. Like I was super always fascinated with the lore behind the Sith
Yeah,
and how there can only be one, and then there's an apprentice, and then whenever there's one rising, there's going to be someone to balance, and that balance of
exactly.
the universe is I think really really beautiful.
Exactly. So many things that make it great, and I'm sure we'll discuss more as we continue talking. But let's move into the highlight of this talk show here is you as Sabine. Look at this picture. This is fantastic. So for anyone listening, if you haven't watched Rebels, you really have to watch it. It's one of my favorite parts of Star Wars. It's my favorite animated series out of all of the Star Wars animated series, and it's such a good story. And mainly we'll talk about Sabine, but we could talk about everybody here. And for those of you that haven't watched it, Sabine Wren is a Mandalorian warrior. She's also an explosives expert and a graffiti artist. She's also part of the Ghost crew, and Sabine used her gift of bomb making to great effect against the Empire during this time period. And she would often mark her work with spray paint tags. And her classic Mandalorian armor was notable for incorporating her own custom stylings, reflecting her creative meets rebellious spirit. So, Yessi, tell me about the first time you were introduced to this character and what it was like taking in who this person was. Did you relate with it? Were you excited? Just tell me everything. How'd it go?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was like there aren't words to describe when I first saw the artwork for Sabine. They held an audition that was in-house, and they were really open to what she could look like. There she is with the helmet, which is really cool because it's covered in her tags. and I loved that she was an artist and she was in every essence of the word a rebel.
Yeah.
She was also separated from her family, which was really interesting. There was a mystery there, which really intrigued me. But I was pulled aside, and the casting director basically told me like, "Oh my God, we want you. Like, we want to use you to bring this character to life here." And they had like a really rough sketch of what she might look like. It wasn't the final artist artwork yet. And I was like, "Oh my God, that's my face already." Like, even just the rough sketches. And they have this machine that does like a full body scan.
Mhm.
So they did a couple body scans of me in order to do like 3D imaging to create her armor. And so all of that was made using my silhouette. And then I was able to work with Disney creatives for the wig, which was handmade. They had hand painted contacts for Sabine. And then I kind of collaborated with them to do the makeup because I did my own makeup every day when I was performing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and it was really, really cool. They flew me to Glendale, California, which is where Disney Imagineering offices are, and 2 times. First, when she was 80% complete, and we were kind of working through like what her physicality was and getting to see clips of the show before it had aired, which was really exciting.
That's so
And
cool.
then yeah, when she was finally ready, they flew me to London, and I actually debuted her at the Disney store on Oxford Street in London.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. So you were the Sabine that people saw before any of the official like animation was released, right?
Yeah, they had put out all the merch. So the merch was in the Disney stores. They
Okay.
had all the cutouts and they had announced the series, but the show hadn't aired yet. And they wanted to bring her to the parks. And the show aired, and it was literally like they're so smart with their planning. The show aired right before Star Wars weekends of 2014, and that was my first time participating in that event. And the reception was incredible. I mean, you had 2 lead characters of color, Ezra Bridger, who was my really good friend at the time as well, who traveled with me for all these experiences. The performer, friends with Ezra, Angel, he's
Yeah, I love
amazing.
that. I love
We're
this
both from
photo.
Puerto Rico, actually. We're
Oh, no
both
way.
bilingual Puerto Rican actors that were based in Florida that were chosen to portray these unique, colorful, exciting new characters for the Star Wars franchise. And they've always been great about casting people of color in their films, which I really, really love.
Did you know anything about Mandalorians before being introduced to Sabine, or was that new for you?
No, it was completely new. I
Okay.
didn't know. Thankfully, I also did a show called the Jedi Training Academy at Disney Hollywood Studios, where we train little younglings, little Padawans
Oh,
on
yes, I
how
have
to
a photo.
wield.
Here we go. There we
Yes,
go.
I would teach them how to wield a lightsaber with our Jedi Master, and I was a Padawan in this show, and they would come up on stage and actually would face off against Darth Vader, which was so cool. So that
Oh,
was
yeah,
when
I see videos of that all the time, like little memes of like kids like really going at Darth Vader. So that's what
it's
that's
so
from.
funny. They believe it. They get so into it, and like some of them are bad, and I have to be like, "Remember, you're on the light side, youngling. Remember your
Right.
oath." You know.
Is that why you look so stern, so serious?
Oh, yeah. Well, the character, you're in training, you have your Jedi master, you're always weary of your younglings turning to the dark side because 'cause
Right.
they're prone to it. They're prone to hitting each other with the lightsabers. I
So
have to
you didn't
say,
fall for any
"Deactivate your
younglings,
saber."
did you?
No, sir. Although I was looking over at Darth Maul.
Speaking of Darth Maul, you got to meet Ray Park,
Yes, yeah, I
and
met
I got the
him.
photo right here. It's so cool.
Yes.
What was that
He's
like?
awesome. He is such a, like, cool, funny, lighthearted person. Like, he was all about posing with us and, like, pretending to, like, face off with us and giving us, like, the Darth Maul stare, which was fun because we were totally into it. I mean, when you're in character, just to preserve the magic, you're always in character in
Yeah.
costume. So he was really fun to like play around with.
So let's talk a little bit more about the role, because at the time, no one knew who Sabine was except for you, people at Lucasfilm, and the other voice actors and stuff like that in the room. Dave Filoni, of course. But for you, you kind of had to adapt the character in your own way for the live performance stuff at Disney, and hanging out with the kids and stuff like that, taking photos and video and all that kind of stuff. So what was it like for you to embody Sabine, and how do you, as an actress, how do you develop a character from nothing, or from what other people have already written about it? What's that process like? Because that's something we haven't discussed here on my show before, and I think that's one of the most fascinating parts about acting, is creating a character from someone else's mind, but
Mhm.
making it your own. And what's the process of going through that to make it come to life?
For me, it's so with Sabine, we didn't have a lot to go off of. Oh, I lost you.
Sorry, I'm good. There
There
we
you
go.
go. Okay, good. I was like, where'd he go? I'm boring him. Um, so we didn't have a lot to go off of to begin with. So for me, it was understanding her physicality is a huge part of it. And it's such an empowering thing to be in armor and to have two blasters on your hip and a spray gun and be this larger than life character. So I really wanted her to exude confidence and swagger and finesse and all of these things that were, it was almost like anytime I put on Sabine, I was being this like aspirational version of myself and this incredibly strong female character for all the little girls. I wanted them to see me and walk away saying, I want to walk that walk and I want to have that confidence and that um, also cheekiness that she has. She's always, anytime there were stormtroopers, we would always be trying to prank them or, like the bait and switch was a lot of what we did in the parks, which is so fun, like that lighthearted and like hee hee ha ha. And like I would have
Right.
the kids in on my little secret, which that play is what I love about acting. Anytime you get to the privilege of breaking the fourth wall, which is not often when you're acting, is such a luxury, and that's something
I
that
bet.
looking back now is probably one of the best parts of being performing in that environment because you
I
get
bet.
to interact with the audience in a way that's so rare.
Yeah, and as I was looking at the photos you sent me yesterday, like this one, for example, with you with the mask on, the helmet. I just came into my head that you were one of the first people to actually, like, officially play a live action Mandalorian. Now we're getting it a bunch of times with the Mandalorian show, and they'll probably come into other TV series as well. But um, you know, outside of the prequels, outside of the movies, like the George Lucas stuff, you were one of the first people to wear the Mandalorian armor. And I think that's so cool, especially being Sabine, since she's so artsy and so different. And you mentioned also you were, stepping into this strong female character position in the Star Wars world, and I think you were also one of the first of those as well, especially in this new era of the Disney, shortly after like Disney took over. And so Sabine, along with Hera and maybe some other Rebels characters, were some of those first um, female characters being introduced by Disney, and I think that's really cool too.
Well, there
And
were other really cool ones at the Star Wars Weekends events, like Zam Wessel was one of the bounty
oh, okay,
hunters. And you could also meet Ahsoka. I love Ahsoka. And
okay. Here's a picture. That's Zam,
Shakti, who's a
and
Jedi. Yeah, you see Ahsoka there. Oh gosh, what's her name? The really scary, cool bald lady. She's from Clone
Asajj.
Wars. Asajj Ventress. Yes, I love her. She's
She's
awesome.
great.
There are so many cool female characters in the Star Wars universe. I
Definitely.
would have loved to play all of them, honestly.
Now,
They were so cool.
what event was this that we're looking at here?
This was the opening stage show welcoming the guests to Star Wars Weekends. So we were all on the stage and everyone has their different poses and also our celebrity guests. So you can actually see Ashley Eckstein there posing with
Yeah.
Ahsoka. She's the voice of Ahsoka Tano. So they would come out. We got to meet the voices of Sabine and Ezra as well on different days. So the event would be like a full day event with shows. That was the stage show, and this was the closing
Okay,
right
very
before the
cool.
fireworks. Yeah.
That's so neat. Okay, so yeah, you got to meet a bunch of people from the animated series and in Star Wars in general. Uh, let's jump into these two first, Ashley Eckstein and also Steve Blum. Is that
Yes.
correct? So they both have worked
Yeah,
in the animated series before. And
he
what
was
was it
the
like
voice of
meeting
Zeb.
them? Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
I mean, Ashley Eckstein is awesome. She is so sweet. She remembers everyone's name and makes everyone feel super, super welcome. So meeting her was unreal. Like, she doesn't even act like she is a celebrity. She's a geek and a nerd just like the rest of us. So she's just like such a cool person. So warm and loving, and he is really cool too. He's really talented. He does a lot of different voices. Like the character voice of Zeb, he like did it for us a couple times, and he's able to change it up and do all kinds of accents. So
Oh, so cool.
really awesome.
Wow. That's really neat. I always hear Ashley's so sweet, and I hope I can get to meet her one day as well.
Yeah,
But that's
Vanessa
cool. You got to meet
Marshall, the
Ahsoka.
voice of Hera, is really cool too. She
Okay, yeah.
was
So here's that picture for everybody.
so sweet, and like honestly, she got emotional a couple times with us because she was just so grateful to be there and be
Oh,
welcomed and be part of this amazing story. And we were like, "You're excited? Like, we can't believe we're meeting you." But
that's
see, I'm
incredible.
sure like all the work that they did to create the project and then seeing it come to life so vividly was
Yeah,
just like so overwhelming for her. So she was just like chef's kiss.
I bet. I bet. That's so cool. And, you also met Tia Sircar?
Yes.
Not sure how to pronounce the last name, but, so this is that picture, and this was the Sabine voice actress. So, what was that like? Was this one really important for you, meeting her?
She was really sweet. We didn't get to talk too much because she was always going. I think at the time she was actually working on a film in California. So she flew in for the event and was always zipping back and forth and being taken to different locations. So I'm glad I got to meet her. And we did a show at the B&B Theater at Disney Hollywood Studios with her as well, where she got to talk to some of the fans. So that was awesome. I mean, for her, she was like, "It's so weird to see you, like, you're real, and I'm you, but you're me," and it was funny.
I bet. I bet that was so cool for them to see that. And were there other, um, Disney characters there dressed as, like, Hera and Kanan and stuff like that, or was it just Ezra and Sabine?
No, just Ezra and Sabine, were part characters that you can meet, and you can actually, I think, still meet Sabine and Ezra on the cruise ships. They have, like, a Star Wars cruise
Oh,
line
okay. Very
where you
cool.
can meet the rebels.
So tell me about your relationship with the actual show itself. Like, were you I think I remember one time Lewis was telling me that when he worked at Disney, he had to watch certain things before he
Mhm.
could jump into a character or stuff like that. So, were you required to watch Rebels? Did you want to watch it? And, what's your thoughts on the show overall?
Yeah, they encourage us to watch it. I told you before I was able to watch a couple clips before it came out, but once it aired, I got into it. I mean, at that point, um, it was something I was doing full time, and it helps. You need to have like content to pull and bring to
Right.
life on set, especially when you're working full time doing meet and greets, interacting with people, and sometimes meeting up to 100 people an hour because of the high volume of guests at Walt Disney World. It's such a huge
Yeah.
operation that you don't want the conversation to ever get repetitive or stale. So I would always pull stories from the show and kind of ask the guests what they think is going to happen, and where they think Ezra's going or where they think Kanan is, and seeing what they had to contribute as well. Because I think that's the beauty of the Star Wars franchise is you're always trying to figure out what's going to happen next.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how long did you play Sabine for?
I was with the Walt Disney Company until 2016. So I was with Sabine since 2014. So a little over 2 years.
Okay, wow.
Mhm.
Wow, that's really cool. So, for you as a, also a director, also, a writer and some other things, just a storyteller in general, you know what it's like to kind of jump into these things and uh, collaborate and, you've been creating for a long time, but what are some challenges you face as a creator with situations like Sabine, or just writing or developing a character in general? What's some big challenges that come your way when doing that?
Yeah, so I'm gonna be candid with you. So one of the hardest parts of my Sabine experience was my experience with a really abusive show director at Walt Disney World,
Oh,
who actually sexually harassed me while I was Sabine. And at the time, I actually reported it and went through that whole process with HR, which did nothing at the time. And after the Me Too movement, several women came forward with very similar stories, and he actually ended up getting canned in the end.
good.
So, yeah, it was
Wow, I'm
my
so
second
sorry. I didn't know
year.
that.
That's tough, especially when, I mean, you're playing this person in skin tight,
Yeah,
everything, and it's really easy to become objectified. And I think that that's something that most women can probably sympathize, that it's really, you really have to just be persistent. And that's something that I was thinking about earlier when you asked me about acting. That's probably the most important quality that all actors have, is we are persistent. We have that internal validation, we have that drive, and you have to have the ability to keep showing up even when somebody does something like hurt, sexual harass you or insult you or put you down or just tell you flat out no, like you don't have it. You have to be able to show up the next day and keep trying. And I think that that is what ultimately leads to success, is continuously being able to show up and take up space.
definitely, definitely. I think you're you're a very strong woman and definitely a good role model for that, because I've seen you work before, and you know how to stick up for yourself, take charge, and also you're also very nice at the same time, and very open-minded and collaborative. So um, yeah, I think that's a good message for people out there who might be facing that as well. And unfortunately, we see that a lot in Star Wars, especially recently. With artists like Kelly Marie Tran from The Last Jedi, kind of getting bullied and having to go to therapy and stuff like that. And with things going on in The Mandalorian, and just other Ray from the movies, things like that. It's kind of sad that it can't be a safe space for everybody. But we have people like you, we have people like Daisy Ridley, and people that push past it and persist, like you said, and give those other uh, little girls or other viewers that sense of like, hey, I could push past it, and I could, like, stand up and be who I want to be. And I think that's fantastic.
Absolutely. We should always have women in these spaces. Like for so long, there was this misconception that this is like a male oriented, geek universe, but absolutely not. There's room for women in these spaces. And I mean, off the top of my head, I can think of so many characters that are not even female that I can relate to, and it's just a
Yeah,
matter of opening our minds and kind of looking past the societal norms and all that bullshit that I just don't subscribe to.
I feel you. I feel you, definitely. So
And
tell me
always
about.
speak up and use your voice. Like for the viewers, I
Yes,
just want to throw it out there. If you ever are feeling uneasy about the way someone is approaching you, talking to you, if they touch you without your consent, you don't have to consent to anything that you don't want to do, and speak up. Even if no one hears you, keep telling your story. Stick to your story. Document things. Have allies, and it's going to be okay.
definitely, and join the conversation. If you're someone who thinks you can't, like, start your own podcast or your own talk show or anything like that, just start and just go. More female Star Wars podcasters, please, definitely, and join us, and you can collaborate with me anytime. But
I'm here for it. I love it.
for you, as far as like the new Star Wars and stuff like that, like, are you watching Mandalorian? And
Yes.
yeah, little baby Yoda, look at him.
Look at little Grogu. Oh, what's his ear doing? Look at him.
So what do you think of Mando? Let's talk about Mandalorian.
I loved it. I sobbed at the finale.
The last one? Oh, me too.
I wasn't ready for that. I wasn't ready to see Luke. I wasn't ready. I don't know why. I just thought that we would get like 8 more seasons of seeing Grogu become an old man,
Right.
little baby old man become an actual old man. I don't know. I'm ready to sign that petition like yesterday for more Grogu. But
Me too. I think he'll come back into like movies and other shows. He's definitely coming back.
I don't know. I mean, didn't Kylo like decimate all of
So you think Kylo
his
killed Grogu?
yeah. He
That's
went with
oh,
Luke and Luke's students all got murdered, right?
I can't accept it. I can't. I just
I know.
can't. I want him to be okay. But no, he's safe in your arms, so
I
it'll be
have him
good.
here. I sleep with him at night. He's our baby.
So so you were wrong when I asked you about younglings earlier, and you lied to me. You went for a baby Grogu. Well, technically he's like 50, so I guess it's okay.
He grown.
Yeah. What about the films? Like they just announced tons of new Star Wars stuff coming out, a whole slew of shows and movies. So when you heard of these announcements, were there any that stuck to you and you were like, "Oh my god, I can't wait for that"?
I'm definitely excited for more Ahsoka, which is a
Oh,
series, but
yes.
yes, loved it. I loved Rosario Dawson portrayal. Her portrayal of Ahsoka was so spot on. Like
She was
it really
great.
did feel
Yeah.
like a continuation of her character from Clone Wars and from Rebels.
Yeah.
She ends so okay. What I'm really curious, because spoiler alert, but in the end, Sabine ends up flying off with Ahsoka to find Ezra, and that's where her story ends. So I'd be really curious if we see Sabine, like what happened? Did she ever find Ezra, and is she still, squirreled away with Ahsoka?
Well, Yesy, I told you from like, I don't know, week 1 that I met you, whenever they do live action Sabine, you better like call your agent and get in there
I know.
and do it, because that would be, I mean, it would work perfect because you already know the character so well. No, you should try. But yeah, Sabine is out with Ahsoka.
Yes.
Last we saw them in the animated looking for Ezra. And then that name drop in The Mandalorian of Thrawn.
Mm-hmm.
So I think in the Ahsoka show, we'll get to see again Ezra, Sabine, and Thrawn. But that big question, you're right, is what happened? Like what happened at that time for both Ezra and Thrawn and Ahsoka and Sabine? There's like two great stories that are like we're still
Mm-hmm.
missing those pages, and I can't wait to see what comes of that. And Ahsoka is going to be a limited series, so it's not going to be like Mandalorian. And Dave Filoni said like 2 months ago he just started writing it, and he said he's loving it and he's finally getting to tell this story. So it's like he's already had this in mind. It's not like they were like, "Hey, go write a story so we can make it next year." He's been wanting to tell this for so long, and so I think it's going to be a great story to tell.
It's been 3 years since Rebels finished.
Yeah, 3 years I think.
2018, right?
So I was always behind a year on Rebels because I never had cable, and so I had to wait until the DVDs came out because they don't put them on Blu-ray for some reason. But I remember after season 4 aired, it was like 7 months until that DVD case came out, and I was like so stressed because I had to wait so long to watch the finale. And then when I watched it, similar to how I reacted to the end of The Mandalorian, it was such an emotional ending for Rebels and one of my favorite parts of Star Wars. And uh, I cried. It was so fantastic. I
I
loved
know.
it so
I'm
much.
such a sucker. I always cry. I feel like
um,
I actually really enjoy crying. I don't know. I'm an emotional person that actually feels really good every time I have a good cry. So,
well,
yeah.
yeah, it's good to cry. It's good to feel that way. That's funny because we were just texting how you were looking through the photos, kind of getting a little choked up too.
Yes. I
Memories.
mean, it was such, I mean, all those photos, just looking through them and the videos, like it was such a culmination of my Disney experience and really like me realizing my potential, I guess, for the first time in my life.
Yeah, that's so
Yeah.
cool. Yeah, I love all
Yes.
these things here, definitely. And again, if you guys are listening on the audio, head on over to the video channel and check it out there or onto the Instagram because I'll share some of these. And you can also click on Yessi's social media. Those are in the descriptions below, and you can follow her and check out her stuff as well. We're getting close to our time here, but before we do get out, I want to know from you, outside of Star Wars, what do you love? What franchise, what property, what nerd stuff do you really like? What's your go-to outside of the Star Wars world?
Yeah, I really enjoyed WandaVision. I just watched the finale
Yeah.
last night and it was so good. I feel like Marvel is I mean, the whole MCU there's so much content. So
Yeah.
you really can dive deep and they're all interconnected. So WandaVision was just fantastic for me. I absolutely love them addressing grief. And the quote that stood out for me was that love is just what was it? It's what is grief if not just the perseverance of love?
Yeah.
Something like that. Oh my god, I loved it. Crying
Yeah. What is
already,
grief if
again,
not
crying.
love persevering? A
Yes.
great
Oh,
line. It's kind of
incredible.
the line of the year so far. WandaVision was fun. It was a fun show and great opportunity for me to plug our WandaVision after show. If you guys go over to the channel, we just did our final review. Me and my girlfriend, we did the WandaVision after show, so you can go listen to that as well and hear our thoughts there. And we did a Q&A with some of you, so check that out as well. Okay, well, Yessi, what about anything for you? You got anything cool coming up you want to share, or where people can follow you and find out more about you and stuff like that?
Yeah, right now I'm actually working for a Brooklyn-based startup called Waldo, and we're the first no-code testing platform, and we enable companies to create reliable automated mobile tests for your applications. We recently launched on Android, which is awesome. And one of my projects for Waldo was the UX archive. So, for any of you UX designers out there that are needing a little bit of inspiration, check us out. We're the world's largest online library of mobile user flows. So, check it out on uxarchive.com. I'm super proud of it. And we'll be adding Android content to that soon. So, super
Wow, very
cool.
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Switching gears a little bit career wise, and I'm loving it just because I'm getting to flex new muscles and yeah, really excited to see what we can do for the mobile designer community. Yeah, you can find me at Yessy Set Sail.
Yeah, Yessi, it was really great. I love talking to you about this, and I'm so glad I finally got you on the show to get to talk about Rebels and Star Wars and other stuff too. And I'm, if you're down, I would love to have you back for a live episode sometimes where the fans, my listeners, can actually ask you some questions too. Maybe in the future we can plan something. But this was fantastic, and I thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your story.
Thank you. It was an honor. Thank you so much for having me. I would absolutely love to interact with your fans. You're doing really awesome stuff. And thank you for creating this space for people to just share the love for Star Wars. I'm
Of
here for
course.
it.
I love it. Well, we'll talk to you really soon. So thank you so much for joining us, Yessi.
May the force be with you.
Okay, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. It was an honor to have Yessi join us today. If you would like to see her return to the show, leave it in the comment section below. And of course, if you're new here, please consider subscribing so you don't miss future Star Wars interviews to come. Like the video, share it with your friends, and until next time, we'll be back on Monday with a new live stream all about Star Wars. And now, somehow, some way, somewhere this week, may the force be with you.